Hi, I'm Julie Naclei, and this is a quick video on insiders versus outsiders. Because one thing I've been learning in West Virginia is that if you do something that people don't like, they won't tell you about it. Instead, they'll tell everyone else about it until everybody hates you, and you don't even know why, and by the time you find out why, the story has been so twisted and exaggerated that it bears no resemblance to anything that actually occurred. But I understand this because we pretty much do the same thing in Kentucky. It's like, I think it's kind of like a southern thing. It's like you act really nice to people's faces and then you behind their back. The main difference between here and Kentucky is that here you're supposed to be just like this to people's faces, just really chill. Just kind of sit there. Yeah, man. Whereas in Kentucky, you're supposed to be like really hyper. You're supposed to be like actively engaging people. It's considered very rude if you're not talking enough because you're boring people, which is rude. But if you're talking about yourself, that would be considered rude too, because nobody wants to hear about you. They want to talk about themselves. So you're basically supposed to interview people and get them to talk about themselves. And you're especially supposed to look for the people who are kind of on the outskirts, who aren't being engaged. You're supposed to draw them in and encourage them to talk about themselves. But when you engage that behavior here, it's considered rude because you're being nosy, you're sticking yourself into people's business, you're interrogating them, and if there's a person who's sitting on the sidelines not engaging, you're supposed to ignore that person because the idea is that they don't want to be bothered. If they wanted to say something, they would say it. So who knows which idea is really true. If the people sitting on the sidelines, do they want to be engaged and they're just too shy, like we think in Kentucky, or are they people who just want to sit on the sidelines and be left alone, like people think here? I don't really know. And I'm okay with the way it is here. It's not like I particularly am attached to the Kentucky style, although sometimes I can get a little bit kind of restless, a little bit bored, because it's hard for me to just kind of sit like a potato for long periods of time, like not saying or doing anything. But regardless, it's pretty similar because in both cases you're supposed to avoid conflict, be nice to people's faces, and then stab them behind their back. When I lived in New England, I was shocked because there it's like, in some ways it had some overlap to West Virginia because people are not very friendly on the surface. It's more like that, which is a little bit more like that here. But conflict would be dealt with in the open. Like in Kentucky, you avoid any subjects that are going to create conflict generally. Whereas here, in New England, people would just be openly arguing about things, and problems would be just publicly aired and discussed. I was like, wow. I mean, I sort of liked it a little bit. It was a little bit more exciting. But supposedly that's because the more hot-blooded people are, and prone to violence, the more they learn to be nice to other people's faces because they're trying to avoid, a fight, basically. And so, I guess here and in Kentucky, the more hot-blooded. So you gotta just be really nice to their faces. But I think that, I kind of think that people should tell people what they're doing wrong, right? Maybe they're not even doing something wrong, but tell them why you are upset with them, because if you don't do that, then outsiders end up getting excluded, which is kind of the purpose, because every group has rules that exist for the purpose of creating boundaries between insiders and outsiders. When I was in Kentucky, when there'd be outsiders, I was a teenage girl at the time, so keep that in mind, but when I was in Kentucky, when outsiders came in, we would basically be encouraging them to act in the ways that we all knew were breaking all the rules, just so we would have, and we're exchanging looks and be like, but we're like, oh really? Yeah, tell us more, because it's just that insider-outsider dynamic is exciting. It's enjoyable to be an insider who is working with your insiders to make fun of outsiders. That's a fun activity, and I understand that. like in Kentucky, you aren't supposed, like I said, you aren't supposed to talk about yourself, and bragging would be extremely taboo. Like, you should never say anything positive about yourself ever. But sometimes like outsiders would come in and they would be like saying good things about themselves, you know? And so we would all be like, oh my God, what a loser. But we would encourage them to keep talking and saying more. We were basically encouraging them to dig a deeper and deeper hole for themselves, because it's fun to torture outsiders as an insider. So I don't hold that against anybody, but the thing about it is, I think communicating with outsiders and explaining to them what your rules are and why you are bothered by them would be a lucky thing, because outsiders are good luck. Like, you can't get good luck without outsiders. Lots of cultures recognize this. That's why when there's like a traveler, you know, you like offer them your best food, you let them stay in your house because they're an outsider, and so they're bringing in luck. You know, like in the Odyssey, when Odysseus, he's coming to stay places, and you know, and he's just this like dirty guy washing up on the shore, but everyone's treating him like a king, even though they don't know that he actually is one, because he's lucky, because he's an outsider. And like in a mythological or astrological sense, that would be because outsiders are sacred to Zeus or Jupiter, who's the god of luck and expansion. But in a practical sense, outsiders are lucky because when you're in a circuit, eventually you exhaust all of the luck that exists in that circuit. You know what I mean? So it's like everyone you know, they know the same things you know. They don't know anything that you don't know, because if they did, you would already know it, you know? So it's kind of like you exhaust all the knowledge and all the luck and the opportunities that exist in your circle, because you already have access to them, and you have the same access to the opportunities that those other people have. So they only know what you know, you know? And so it's like, in order to expand beyond that circuit, outsiders are really your golden key. So that's why I like communicating with outsiders rather than just taking pleasure in, like, you know, taking pleasure in disliking them, is actually really lucky, because here's one thing that you can take to the bank. A day will come when your own people turn on you. And it may not happen today, and maybe it won't even happen in this lifetime, but a day will come when your own people will turn on you, and you will have to expand beyond your current circuit. And outsiders are the ones who will be there for you at that time. And in addition to that, you may just need to expand beyond your circuit in order to get more luck, you know what I mean? Get more opportunities, get more of the things that aren't available in your current circuit. And so outsiders are the key to all that. So that's what I think. If someone is not living up to your expectations, it would be better to communicate that to them rather than simply use that as a reason to reject them. Thank you. I'm Julie Neckley. Bye.